The work breakdown structure contains the project and the major tasks in that project, the subtasks in the major tasks, and the activities that are to be completed. So this is detailed in the following figure. As we can see, there are 4 levels from levels 1 to 4. So the project, which is to develop Windows 11 operating system, is at level 1 and it is labeled 1.0. And then below that is the level 2, which shows 3 major tasks, and they are also labeled with numbers. And then you have the levels 3 and levels 4. So the level 4 is the subtasks of the previous tasks in level 3, which is to ensure compatibility with earlier versions, and it is labeled at 1.1.2. So the other following tasks in level 4 are subtasks of that particular task in level 3. So these work breakdown structures contains major tasks and subtasks. Now moving on, talking about the project scheduling techniques. So these techniques involve methods for planning, organizing, and managing the time and resources that is required to complete a project. So there is the Gantt chart, the critical path method, the program evaluation and review technique, as well as the CPM. A Gantt chart is a visual tool that is used in project management to illustrate the schedule of tasks over time. So it helps project managers and teams to plan, coordinate, and track progress, providing a clear overview of project timeliness and dependency. So this is an example of a simple Gantt chart. So it has the initials of the months of the year from January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, and September. So it has attributes on the left side that have been listed, and then these attributes have a time that is represented by a bar under the months. Okay, so for example, for design, the time that is shown starts from January and stops in June. For the prototype, the time starts from March and stops in April. For the test, the time is shown or represented by a bar from April until June, and same goes on for the other attributes, starting from 1 month and ending in another month. So also this is a Gantt chart, another Gantt chart of service activities for a Delta jet during a 40-minute layover. So the activities and sub-activities are listed vertically on this table, and there are bars that represent time at which each of these activities and sub-activities are carried out. So this time represents the duration of these activities, and it is represented on the horizontal axis of this table. So what are the purposes of project scheduling? There are various reasons for project scheduling. So the first being that it shows the relationship of each activity to others and the relationship of each activity to the whole project, to the entire project. it identifies the precedence relationships among activities. So when we say precedence relationship, it means the order or sequence in which tasks need to be carried out. It defines the relationships and dependencies between different tasks, indicating which tasks has to be completed or must be completed before others can begin. It also encourages the settling of realistic time and cost estimates for each activity. Okay, so the setting of the time and the cost estimate for each activity is realistic. It encourages the setting of time and cost estimates that are realistic. Okay, so another purpose is that it helps make better use of people, money, material, resources by identifying the critical bottlenecks in the project. So there is the project controlling, which involves closely monitoring of the resources, the costs, the quality of the project, as well as the budget. Okay, so and then there is some feedback. During the process of project controlling, there is feedback, and this feedback enables revising the project plan and shifting resources. And it also allows the production of extensive reports with computerized tools. So there are different popular packages for generating computerized PERTs or CPM reports to aid or assist with project controlling, and they include the Oracle Primavera, MindView, HP project, and so on and so forth. So talking about the project control reports, it gives detailed cost breakdowns for each task. It gives or shows the labor requirements. It shows the cost and hour summaries, the raw materials and expenditure forecast, and so on and so forth. So all these are what the project control report contains. So if it's a project, if it's that is using the waterfall approach, so it is well defined and involves extensive planning. The constraints are usually known and the specifications are well defined. But if it's an agile project, then it is ill defined because there are many unknowns, and the project is developed iteratively and incrementally, and because of the many unknowns, it will require collaboration and constant feedback to adjust. Okay, to adjust to the many unknowns of these evolving technology and project specifications. Now let's talk about the program evaluation and review technique, PET for short, and the CPM. So the PET and the CPM are project management techniques used to plan, schedule, and control projects. They are network techniques that are commonly used in project management. So they contain 6 steps. The first being that the project has to be defined, and then the work breakdown structure has to be prepared as well. And then the relationships among the activities need to be developed by deciding which activities must precede, must come first, and which ones must follow. Okay, and then it involves drawing the network that is connecting all of the activities, assigning the time and the cost estimates to each of this activity, and then it involves computing the longest time path through the network, which is called the critical path. And then network the network is used to help plan, schedule, monitor, and control the project. So there are various questions that the PET and CPM can answer. Okay, so these questions would give more clarity. So when will the entire project be completed? What are the critical activities or the tasks that are in this project? Which of the activities are non-critical, and what is the probability that the project will be completed by a specific date? So these questions are self-explanatory. Now, the PERT and CPM both utilize a network diagram to represent the flow of tasks and their dependencies. Now, this slide is showing a comparison of the AON and AOA network conventions, and the AON stands for activity on node, while the AOA stands for activity on arrow. So as we can see here, first of all, in AON, which is the activity on node, activities are represented by nodes, okay? And arrows depict the dependencies between activities. So the nodes usually contain the activity name and duration. Here, the nodes here are represented by circle, okay? So let's start with A, is the activity that has 3 circles, and these circles are named A, B, C, and they are connected by arrows, as we can see. So this means that A comes before B and B comes before C. We're explaining the illustration on A now. So as you can see, with the way the arrows are pointing from one letter to the other, it means that A comes first, B comes next, and then C comes after B. So the AOA for the same has 4 blank circles that are connected by arrows. So now, like I mentioned earlier, I said in AON, activities are represented by nodes, and the arrows depict the dependencies between activities. So the nodes contain the activity name and duration, while in AOA, activity on arrow, the activities are represented by arrows and nodes are used to indicate the event or milestones. Take note of the difference. Okay, in the AON, arrows depict the dependencies between activities, while in AOA, the activities are represented by the arrows. So in AON, activities are represented by nodes, while in AOA, activities are represented by arrows. Okay, so the arrows represent the flow of activities, and events signify the start or completion of one or more activities. However, AON has become more prevalent in modern project management. It is more widely used. So still on this illustration, so let's move to letter B. The letter B has nodes A, B, and C, which means that A and B must both be completed before C can start. Okay, so similar explanation goes for the rest activities that are illustrated in the rest of the slides, and the activity meaning are given on the slides as well, on the figure. So moving on, this is an example of AON. Okay, so a paper manufacturing company is used here to describe it. Okay, so as we can see here, the activity is given as well as the description of that activity and the immediate predecessors. So this is quite self-explanatory. So as we can see on the activity C column, the immediate predecessors is A, which means that activity A has to come first before activity C. And then on the next column, activities A and B have to come first before activity D can start. And the same goes for the other activities, so up until H. So it means that activities F and G have to take place before activities H, which means that installing pollution control systems and installing air pollution devices have to start and finish before inspecting and testing takes place. So this is the AON network for Milwaukee paper. Milwaukee is the name of the paper manufacturing company. So the AON graph has a dummy activity, starts. Okay, so start is where the two nodes are arising from. The two nodes are A and B. A represents activity A, which is to build internal components, and the B represents activity B, which is to modify the roof and the floor. So all these are the different networks for Milwaukee papers. Okay, so these are different examples showing different networks between the activities. So determining the project schedule. So performing a critical path analysis. So the critical path is the longest path through the network, and the critical path is the shortest time in which the project can be completed. So any delay in the critical path activities delays the project itself. The critical path activities have no slack time. So determining the project schedule. This table shows the time estimate for Milwaukee paper manufacturer, and you can see the activities are labeled with letters, and then these activities are described, and the time scheduling for each of these activities are given on the right side of the column. So performing a critical path analysis. So the earliest start is defined as the earliest time at which an activity can start, assuming all predecessors have been completed. Remember, we said that there are activities that need to be completed before others can begin. Okay, so the earliest finish is the earliest time at which an activity can be finished. The latest start is the latest time at which an activity can start, so as not to delay the completion time of the entire project. And then the latest finish is the latest time by which an activity has to be finished, so as not to delay the completion time of the entire project. Okay, so this node here, as we can see in this figure, is represented by a circle. So there are two segments of the circle formed at the left and the right parts. Okay, and they are separated or marked by vertical lines that connect points on his boundary. Okay, so the top left segment is labeled ES, which stands for earliest start. The top right segment is labeled EF, which stands for earliest finish. The bottom left is labeled LS, which stands for latest start, and the bottom right is labeled LF, which stands for latest finished. And then the area between these segments is labeled A, and this A denotes the activity name or symbol, and then 2, as you can see the number 2 there is also shown, and it denotes the activity duration. So the forward pass, begin at starting event and work forwards. The forward pass involves beginning at starting an event and working forward. So the forward pass is a critical step in the critical path method of project management, and it involves determining the earliest start and finish times for each activity in a project, helping to identify the earliest possible project completion time. So the forward pass starts with the initial event. That is what that statement means. Begin at starting event and work forward. Begin at starting event means that it starts with the initial event, and then it moves forward or works forward. So the earliest finish time has its own rule, which is that the earliest finish time of an activity is the sum of its earliest start time and its activity time. So therefore, earliest finish is equals to the earliest start plus activity time. So this is the earliest start and earliest finish network for Milwaukee paper. Milwaukee paper is being used as an example to show the illustration of these terms. Okay, so these are the different network illustrations for the Milwaukee paper, using the different steps in the critical path method, such as the earliest start, the earliest finish, the latest start, and the latest finish. So there is the backward pass. So this begins with the last event and works backward. The forward pass works forward, the backward pass works backward. Okay, so the backward pass helps to determine the latest start and finish time for each activity, aiding in identifying the total float or slack time available for non-critical activities. So the backward pass starts with the final event. It aids in identifying activities that can be delayed without impacting the project timeline. Okay, so the latest start time has a rule also, which is that the latest start time of an activity is the difference of its latest finish time and its activity time. So the difference is represented by the subtraction. So the latest start equals to latest finish minus activity time, and just like the others, these are the network representations as well, using Milwaukee paper as an example. So calculating slack time. So after computing the earliest start, the earliest finish, the latest start, and the latest finish times for all the activities, you compute the slack or free time for each activity. So the slack is the length of time that an activity can be delayed without the entire project being delayed. Okay, so this is showing the schedule and slack times for Milwaukee paper. As you can see, there are different activities labeled with alphabets on the left side of the table, and then the earliest start times, the earliest finish time, the latest start time, the latest finish time are all given, and the slack time is determined by subtracting the earliest start time from the latest start time. So as you can see on the right side of the table, it says on critical path. So if you notice, all the activities that have 0 as their slack time are represented with yes on critical path. So here is a table with 8 columns. Okay, so it shows the activities, okay, with that are labeled with the alphabets as well. Okay, so and just as the previous table, there are the LS stats. This is a representation of what is on the previous slide as well. Okay, so the activities whose slack is equal to 0 will lie on the critical path. Okay, so it starts at the first activity and terminates at the last activity of the project. So it includes only the critical activities.